Did you know that many animals never even make it to pet stores? Did you know that some of these animals also eat their own young because they're forced? I'm sure many of you are familiar with PetSmart and Petco. I'm sure you all have dogs, reptiles, and fish, and you need to take care of these animals, so you're more than familiar with these stores. By the end of this speech, I want you to know the mishandling and torture that these animals go through at these big chain pet stores. If you're sensitive to mistreated animals, this is your warning. Have you ever wondered where they get their animals? Well, one of the big companies is from Sun Pet. Sun Pet is a company that sources animals from mills throughout the world, takes them to their facility, and then sells them to stores like PetSmart and Petco. Unfortunately, a lot of these animals never survive the facility, and then that's not the it. They will then be sold to the stores, and when they're transported to these stores, they're put in cardboard boxes, stacked on a pallet, and wrapped with plastic shipping wrap. A lot of these animals will suffocate, and a lot of these animals will also overheat and die before they even reach to a store. These animals are thought of as nothing more than commodities. They're products on a shelf. All the companies are worried about is selling them and making money. They're no different than a bag of treats or dog food, unfortunately. Some stores have been guilty of doing heinous things towards these animals, including overfull freezers of dead animals that have not been discarded. There have been multiple hamsters who have given birth and eaten their own young because they have not been properly fed. Mariah Healy is the author of Reptiles.com. Reptiles.com is an online database for reptile care. She has scientifically factual research on many animal species, and she has been studying for years. She works really hard to keep all of her information up to date and accurate, and many people in the industry, including myself, use her site. When she was outlining the pros and cons of using retail pet stores, she gave pros and cons, but the cons greatly outweighed the pros. The one pro that really stuck out was that some managers at these pet stores do know what they're talking about and are fairly knowledgeable about these animals. Unfortunately, they are not in control of where these animals come from and where the store buys them, so they're unable to do anything. Also, a lot of these employees at these stores only have a general knowledge of animals, and unfortunately, some people who buy these animals only get their information from these stores and therefore aren't going to be able to take care of these animals correctly because they don't have the necessary information. Also, they have these pamphlets, at least PetSmart does, that offer different care guides or care guides of animals that are oftentimes outdated or honestly just flat out missing critical information. Um, for example, leopard geckos in the pamphlet for the leopard gecko at PetSmart, it advocates to use an undertank heater. Undertank heaters are bad because undertank heaters can burn the bottom of an animal, but more importantly, they're really hard to manage the temperature for. Without a thermostat, it's almost impossible to get the correct temperature in a tank. So these temperatures can often reach upwards of 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which would honestly probably kill your animal. So pet stores, while unavoidable, sometimes it happens. For my visual aids, I have a bunch of pictures that I took at a Petco myself, starting with this betta fish. Betta fish need oxygen to survive, and obviously in this cup, they're not getting any of it. This overcrowded tank of feeder goldfish, which is another issue on itself. Dead goldfish. This humidity gauge for these crested geckos is at about 15% when it needs to be upwards of 50 to 70% because they're a tropical species, and that's a minimum. These same crested geckos, covered in their own skin because stuck shed in humidity, making it unable for them to shed. Another one. A bearded dragon surrounded by its own feces on carpet, which is bad because animals will get their claws and teeth stuck in the carpet and will rip them off, essentially. This is a tank for a leopard gecko. No hides, no basking spots, nothing. The same leopard gecko laying in its own feces and a cricket that is way too big to be consumed. Um, this is the temperature gauge for this right here, this is a blue-tongued skink native to Australia. Their basking spot needs to be 105 degrees. And as you can see, they don't have a basking spot, and the ambient temperature is less than 75 degrees. One more source I want to show you is right here. This is the proof of the pudding right here. This is my leopard gecko. Her name is Hurricane. She is a product of a Petco. And what I want to show you is if you look at her fingers, they're nubs. So unfortunately, the pet stores that I bought her from did not take care of her, and her stuck shed around her fingers cut off her circulation and made her fingers fall off. So using pet stores unavoidable. It's unfortunate, but I will leave that decision up to you in terms of making, because all of our animals need to eat.